Welcome to Crosby's Crew. Welcome back to another episode of Crosby's Crew. Today we're doing how to win beyond the scoreboard. And we want to invite you to become a wine athlete, someone who takes the discipline, routines, teamwork, recovery mindset of elite athletes and applies it to your everyday life. It's about how we approach our work and our rest and the rituals that give both purpose. Because winning isn't just about performance, it's about how we gather, celebrate, and invest in the people around us. It's about finding meaning in the moments that make life worthwhile, and in the process, redefining what winning really looks like. So we're going from sidelines to cellars, and we're discovering the stories behind great wine and the people who make it, drawing inspiration from their habits, perspectives, and experiences that help us pursue excellence in our own lives. Today, we are exploring what happens when success becomes service and how some of the biggest names in sports have used wine as another way to give back. I'm Molly Crosby.
Yes, and I'm Mason Crosby. And like we do always, it's time to kick it and sip it. So now we're happy you joined the crew. And as we do always, we'll do a toast. So here's to the athletes who discover that the greatest victories don't happen on the field, the course, or the court. They happen when the platform you've earned becomes an opportunity to serve someone else. Cheers.
Yes.
All right, Jake, before we dive in, we got to talk about, you just got to tell us the story, right? Before we get going. And if Molly wants to do more of an introduction, she can, because you're better at that than I am. But.
Well, we're here with Jake, the founder, visionary behind ONEHOPE Winery here in Napa, California. And we want to know a little bit about what we're drinking, how we ended up sitting at this table, the vision that brought us to here. And we'll get to it later on, where you see this place going.
Yeah. So thank you guys for having me on first and foremost. It's another beautiful day in the Rutherford AVA of Napa.
For sure.
AVAs are American viticultural areas, of course. And there's all these little gems scattered throughout Napa Valley, but amongst them is Rutherford, and it's a really special place we live. And our Sauvignon Blanc that makes this Fumé Blanc comes from right off the estate, just out the window here. And it is a perfect region, Rutherford, to grow Sauvignon Blanc. So first and foremost, this wine is oak aged. So it's Sauvignon Blanc with a nice dress on and ready to go out, and then that becomes Fumé Blanc. When you oak age the wines, it really creates kind of this next layer of complexity and weight on your usual Sauv Blanc. So I'd say it's like a Sauv Blanc on the front end, and then on the back end, you get a little bit more of that creaminess of a Chardonnay or of a Viognier. Our brand and company is all about the wine, but it's also not about the wine at all. And I say that because it's like we started less focused on trying to be the next 100-point wine, and we focused on being different than any other wine brand in that our whole purpose was to nourish the future. And the idea was to build a wine brand that would give back year after year. I started with no family in the wine industry and no background in the wine industry.
That's a bold move. It's a bold move.
Yes.
It's a scary place to jump in, especially smack dab here in the middle of Napa. But our story doesn't really start in the center of Rutherford within the Napa Valley. It starts out of a public storage unit in El Segundo, California, with 3 pallets of wine that I drove down in a U-Haul truck from Sonoma. I drove it down and loaded up in this public storage unit, and we started selling out of the back of our cars. So that's the beginning of our story. And like with most great stories, there's even a story before that founding story, but that is the beginning of ONEHOPE. And I'm excited to share more with you guys and your watchers today. So.
Well, when did you start to think that wine could be a force for good? I mean, obviously we know it's a good thing because it's like a magnet that draws us around a table or around each other. But when did it click that you were like, I'm going to help people by selling wine?
I was in the back of a grocery store down stacking pallets at about 4 a.m. When I was starting in the wine industry. I got my first job out of UC Berkeley, where I graduated. Nice. And I got the wine territory in Newport Beach. That was like the big selling point. I had all these other opportunities, but wine sales caught my eye because it's such a fun industry and I got to move to Newport Beach for it. And as a Northern California kid, that was my dream by the time I was leaving college.
Nice.
So I took the job, and it sounded really romantic to sell wine in Newport Beach. But in reality, I was at grocery stores like Ralph's and Stater Brothers, and to build relationships with the store managers and the liquor manager and the people who made the decisions of who got to put their wine where.
Yeah.
I would go and do manual labor with them in the early morning when you're resetting the shelves and everything. And so it's at that time, about 4 a.m, I'm stocking an end cap with Campbell's soup, and I see a pink ribbon on the can, and it says, "This can helps in the fight against breast cancer." And I went, that's really cool. And I just had a friend's mom who was impacted by breast cancer.
Man.
And so that was the first product I saw that was going back to a good cause. No more than 5 minutes later, I'm at the milk box, and I see the Yoplait yogurt, same thing with the lids, pink ribbon on it. Says, "Send this lid in, 10 cents goes to the fight against breast cancer." And that's the beginning of the idea to build a wine brand that would give back. It wasn't until a month later, when all the pink ribbons went away, that I decided I'm going to build a wine brand that gives back, but it's going to give back year round, and it's going to give back to a bunch of different causes. And so that's kind of my initial start in not only wine, but how I decided I'm going to not only build a wine brand, but a wine brand that helps to nourish the future.
I love that. So then how does that kind of, the next steps, and, obviously what ONEHOPE has become, and the athlete connection, right? Like it's, because you've connected a bunch of athletes to this, right? And like, I know there's a bunch of names. I don't know if like some of them are like not wanting to, like be put out there, but we know one of our good buddies is, is a member here, and as an investor, and one of the founding people. So just talk about how that kind of connection came to be, where it's like, hey, I'm gonna go after like-minded people that want to do something great but love wine, and let's figure out a way to connect that.
Yeah, it is. So when I came up with the idea, and I'm in that Ralph's grocery store, and it evolves, I do what most people do when they have a great idea, right? Which is nothing. So I do nothing with the idea for a while.
Yeah, just ponder.
And I had about 6 months later, in April of 2006 now, believe it or not, so about 20 years ago, I have one of my closest friends from growing up. She's a friend girl, I call her, from my block. She got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer.
Oh, gosh.
So that was a real life-changing moment for me. And it's actually what sparked me to say, I'm going to take this from an idea to something real.
For sure.
When I got started with it, so I flew home to see her, by the way, and I sat down in her parents' old living room, and we talked about what was going to happen next and the treatment she's about to go through. And I said, I'm going to start this while you're going through your fight with cancer. And I flew home the next day. I incorporated ONEHOPE, and I over the next 15 weeks, I found a winemaker. I found a winery that I would make my first wine at. I designed some crappy labels. I sent in all my administrative work to the ABC to get my wine license. And by the end of the 15 weeks, she was cancer-free. I was like on my way to starting this brand. And so that is like the true beginning of it. And then not so long afterwards, because the handful of us that started it, we were co-founders. Again, all of us, none of us came from wine background, but we all met each other in the wine industry right out of college. And we started this, and we started like comparing notes on any friends we have that can help the business or whatever else. And Brandon, one of our other co-founders, and I had played football at Cal.
Yeah.
And we had the Cal connection with Aaron, which is part of how we connected, is actually through a common thread to Aaron, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly.
And I reconnected with him. Brandon was one of his tight ends in
Jeff
college.
Jeff is the thread that binds, right? Like he pieces everything.
We know this
together.
personally.
Yeah, exactly.
He is. He's one of those special guys. He's a one-of-one.
Connector.
But yeah, Brandon and I reconnected with Aaron, and the same way with a lot of the other athletes that we met over time. Jason Kidd was one of our early partners.
Nice.
And there was a Cal connection there, but it was one of our other partners who happened to golf with him at a celebrity golf tournament.
Just started kind of talking about what was going on.
Yeah, and they were just drawn to the idea, and next thing you know, Jason Kidd's a partner. It's actually what reconnected Aaron and I, because I was helping Jason with caddying at the celebrity golf tournament in Tahoe.
Nice.
And so I got to like walk with him for one of the days, and he and Aaron were partnered up, and it was really great to reconnect with him. So through Aaron, I met Jeff. The same thing has happened for a number of the other athletes with John Elway. It was like I met Ronnie Lott and his son Ryan, and then they introduced me to a wonderful guy, another Jeff Spurbeck, who was longtime partners with John as well. And so over the years, as more athletes kind of have come through here, or more musicians and stuff, they feel kind of comfortable with the idea that we've partnered with other greats. And that brings down the barrier a little bit. And now you're seeing it's way more common with all these basketball players, like we talked about, getting behind it. But first and foremost, like elite athletes are drawn to talent and great vision and quality in the bottle, because they're used to drinking good stuff, a lot of them. At the same time, a lot of them they need a place to start, and so we have incredible wine, but with no pretentiousness. And so that's I think that's a big reason why we've drawn some of the greatest athletes in the world to be owners and partners with us. But one of the first ones was Aaron and Jason, and they connect to my alma mater, so go Bears.
That's right.
For us, Kohler isn't just a brand, it's a part of our story. My dad was an exclusive Kohler dealer, so I grew up knowing their commitment to quality and design.
And for me, I helped open Lodge Kohler in Green Bay, and we've celebrated some of our best memories there, like my 40th birthday at Black Wolf Run.
Kohler, Wisconsin and Kohler properties have always been our favorite places to relax, connect, and of course, enjoy great wine together.
So it feels full circle that Kohler Company, boldly innovating for over 150 years, is now part of Crosby's crew, bringing extraordinary moments to everyday life. Cheers to that.
Well, I think for us too, that makes sense in that you can only live so long before you hit some obstacle, often in the form, whether it be cancer or a complex medical diagnosis. And you want to feel like something's working on it every second of every day. These people all have drives already.
Yeah.
But then you hit something that's so huge, to have something tangible like that, like to look your friend in the eye and say, tomorrow, I'm going to get on this. And
this is what I'm working on.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody expects anybody to not work. It's not like... It's not like you can solve all the diseases at once. Like that's your new job title.
Yeah.
But you can get behind the people who are working on it.
I got you, man. She was ready, by the way. She was like, give me some of that Pinot Noir. So
I like to stay focused. Eye on the prize here. So we would love to hear about this Pinot Noir. And then we have kind of another little question for you.
Yeah. And by the way, what you said really resonates, Molly. When that happened, when she called me, I was kind of like, I was scared because it was like the first time I had someone that I loved go through something like this. And I'd been very blessed to that point where like all my grandmas and grandpas were still alive. Like nobody in my family had any health stuff. And so it was my first time, and it like flipped my world upside down because I'm a 22-year-old guy at the time. I feel kind of invincible. And then this happens, and it made me realize like life is short, and it scared the shit out of me. And at the same time, on the way there to meet her, I'm like, oh, life is short. I should be brave and like take a chance on this. And so it actually inspired me on top of scaring me around how life is short. It just reminded me of it. And it's helped center me in gratitude since then. And then this company working on it every day, I'm back in connection with my purpose every morning when I wake up and every night when I go to sleep. So
Well, you're a machine. I know you're just like, you're dialed in. It's awesome. We so appreciate you taking a moment to just be here and talk about this, because Neil's property, we're so fortunate that we've been able to stay here a couple of times, and that uniqueness as well that you get to offer to, your investors and friends of people, like that, where they can come and stay on the estate. And I know y'all have other projects that are, coming up and some other opportunities, but as we travel around, as we're doing this podcast, we feel like that's this unique little shift that like we might see happening more. I don't know if you're going to see this happening more, where it's like, hey, let's figure out ways that we can bring more people in that can kind of keep helping move this thing forward and move away from like kind of old school, like, Napa tradition, and like, let's bring it into a new age that still like honors the old, but like is fresh and new and gets everybody excited to be a part of it.
I mean, it's something we celebrate so much here on the property, is that intersection and harmony between tradition and innovation. Yeah. It's actually what the Fumé Blanc's about, by the way. It's about celebrating the tradition of the old guard next door with Robert Mondavi, who first brought Fumé Blanc here. They were brand new on the block when he created Fumé Blanc. Oh, nice. And it was inspired by Blanc Fumé out of the Loire region, Loire Valley. And they have a Pouet Fumé there, and they'll sometimes call it the Blanc Fumé because it's got this kind of smoky flavor, and they oak age it. And Robert was actually inspired to create Fumé Blanc because of a trip there. And he watched in the early morning as they were driving through the Loire Valley, this fog that set down on the Sauvignon Blanc vineyards. And as the sun came up, it burned off the fog and it looked like white smoke leaving the vines. And so Blanc, white, Fumé, smoke. Yeah. So Blanc Fumé makes sense. He comes back here and he's like, we have to have our version of Blanc Fumé. And so the most creative thing the marketing team could come up with was flipping the words to Fumé Blanc. Smoke white doesn't really mean anything, but phonetically it's beautiful, right? And now they're taking this old world winemaking style and applying it here in the new world. And I love that story because it's this reminder that words matter, and that when you take the old traditions and then you put a new spin on it, that is how things kind of cross the chasm of generations and everything. For sure. And so I feel like we have that opportunity here right next door. Yeah. Not only innovative about the way that we've grown our brand in people's homes and by helping empower them to raise money for the causes that they care about. Yeah. We've powered over 60,000 wine tasting events that have raised tens of millions of dollars for charity. And then on top of it, in every single bottle, we build in a donation. So we've donated over $12 million directly just through every bottle that we've sold. We've sold over 10 million bottles to date.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then every bottle now today empowers $25 of school supplies to make it to under-resourced areas throughout the U.S. So we serve school districts all over the place by collecting donated school supplies, and then we underwrite distributing them to places. So it gets us almost 25-to-1 leverage on our donations. That's so awesome. So our goal is to donate over $100 million or get over $100 million of school supplies that are donated out and about around the country over the next decade, along with a bunch of other things we're trying to do. And so, when I pull back to the wine we're drinking, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So by the way,
let's talk about the wine.
I get pulled into purpose, and then I try to swing back to wine again.
I smell pencil shavings.
It all ties together.
Yeah, pencil shavings.
And calculators.
That's right. Calculators and pencil shavings
and lined ruled paper.
Yeah, and a backpack, a
Smells
clean
like
backpack.
success.
This is a Russian River Pinot. So you guys got the Fumé Blanc right off the property here from our Rutherford estate. Then this very elegant Russian River Pinot. It's got a lot of big cherry in the front, black cherry. Yeah. And then you've got fresh forest floor kind of on that finish. So not like the dusty, earthy Pinots that some of them that I love, but this one's a really fresh one. And then you get this like little touch of spearmint at the end that kind of makes it even that much more refreshing. And it's just a wonderful Pinot. We've farmed this vineyard for about 5 years now. So this is our 2022 vintage, 230 cases. So these ones you're talking like 9 barrels of wine, 9-10 barrels of wine for these little small production ones. But
tastes like something I could drink by the pool.
We talk about that, like the floor, like the dirt and all, and it's almost like get a little like tobacco, and it's like it's just kind of this. I love that unique earthy. Oh, like when I go deep into it, I get that cherry, and then there's like, is that a little tobacco hint in there?
Little tobacco is right. Actually, I think that even made the winemaking notes. They're not on the bottle here, but there's a little tobacco, a little allspice. I feel like you studied the wine notes before.
No, he's
Mason.
really good at
He's just
it.
good
I'm
at
really
that,
good. If I trust my gut, I'm good.
He was showing off.
Sometimes
mostly because at a tasting yesterday, I got a lot closer than he did, and I feel like he's been looking.
Oh, that was my moment.
Looking for
That was
his
my
way
moment.
to get. He knew I wasn't getting there, but I mean, we could spend a long time talking about the fact that now you're, speaker at TED Talks and at universities, and obviously what you're doing here continues to inspire. But we have a little make-believe we'd like you to do.
Okay, let's hear it.
If you could pick any athlete from any point in time to craft a wine with, and then the two of you would pick the cause, who would it be and what would the cause be? Go ahead and have a sip of your wine. And, that was kind of
That's a really good question, by the way.
It's just for you.
I have been asked, by the way, about a musician, and I threw out Bob Marley, which it seems like the wrong product to be producing with Bob Marley,
Yeah.
But
Same
I do
effect.
feel like it would be awesome to like blend a wine with Bob Marley,
still
right?
growing something, and
Yeah, I would. I mean, it might be blended.
Some different
with,
notes?
Yeah, some different notes,
Seriously.
exactly. But you play music to the grapes too, and to the wine, and it comes out better if you play good music. Like I play
that.
Beatles all the time
Nice.
for our wine when it's in barrel, because I
no
just
way.
feel like
Fantastic.
when you play "Here Comes the Sun" and things like that to
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
you get that vibration and stuff starts happening in there. I love it.
totally.
This smells amazing.
All right, Bob Marley.
So one of my favorite athletes growing up was Nolan Ryan. And
We
I
have
feel
a
like,
son named Nolan.
Sir.
oh, do you?
Yes.
I love
didn't,
that.
I
Yes.
didn't know it was
Thank
named
you.
after Nolan Ryan until we were doing an off season
Yeah.
in Texas, and someone said, "Oh, your son's Nolan. Is that like Nolan Ryan?" I mean, I don't think. And my
She's like,
husband
"I'm
said,
not-"
"Absolutely."
Yep.
I don't even feel like Nolan probably drinks that much wine, but maybe he does at this stage. But I bet back in the day he drank beer and
Yeah,
whiskey
exactly. Yeah.
is my thought. And
Just like you have to picture that, but
He
I think he's
actually
drinking wine
lives
now.
in Mason's hometown.
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know I was
So
hitting the
it'd be
hot
Nolan
button,
Ryan.
but Nolan Ryan is the athlete that I have the most cards of. I was kind of thinking about that,
same.
and like I grew up a big fan of like the Bash Brothers and stuff here too.
Yeah.
But over time, you're like, I'm gonna distance myself a little from Mark and Jose and
Yeah.
stuff. But Nolan, I was a pitcher in growing up in baseball, and I just always loved his grit and how tough he was
sure.
and everything. And so I would probably do like an old vine Zinfandel with Nolan Ryan, and I would have some fun name that spoke to the fact of how tough he was and how
Yeah,
hard he
exactly.
was. And we of course all remember the charging the mound as a little
Seriously.
kid. It's like seared in my brain
Yeah.
watching that.
Him
and
getting busted in the face and then just like
wiping it.
Yeah,
and then I'm back to I'm going to strike everybody out now
striking
again.
everyone out. I know.
So I even went around to on a family trip one year. We were down in Arizona and Texas on a family trip, and we went to like every Whataburger because they had a special Nolan Ryan like
Yes,
baseball
I
card
love
set,
that.
and I collected every single
You're
one.
speaking
So
Seriously.
all of his love languages
and I love
right
the name
now.
Nolan as a little kid.
I know.
Like my son's name is Jack, but if it
Nice.
wasn't Jack and mom wasn't picking it, Nolan it would be a coin flip that it was
That's
Nolan.
right.
So
And it also means champion, right?
So
Oh, it does.
that's
Okay.
kind of our fun little story. Is we
That's
had a short list of like 3 names that we really wanted. I went into labor at a preseason game, let him finish the game because I wasn't sure if I was actually in labor, and so we ended up having this baby, and we couldn't decide on what to call him. And Mason's holding him, watching the PGA championship that was
At Whistling Straits.
in Wisconsin that year. And so I pulled out the baby book and I was like, all right, here's what they mean again. And Nolan in this particular baby book meant champion. And Mason
Yeah,
said,
like
he
more
goes,
modern
well,
reference.
maybe this year we'll win the Super Bowl. And then they did.
it's awesome.
And-
2010. Yeah.
I
and
remember
when we
watching you
went-
guys win the Super Bowl.
When
and
we went
I was
to
there
the-
in Texas
Oh,
too.
nice.
Were you
Nice.
really in the ice storm? And then when we turned onto the boulevard, like as the team family traveling, I knew it was a good sign.
Nolan
We
Ryan.
pulled down, it was Nolan Ryan,
the
whatever.
Rangers, yeah.
Leading to the stadium. And I went, oh, okay, this could actually happen.
Epic. I was there. I was in that ice bowl. I was at the hotel afterwards.
Yeah.
I got to put the belt around my
belt? Nice.
Yeah, because Brandon and Aaron were still texting, daily at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
As we know, Aaron can be hit or miss on text, but
I know, Aaron, text your friends back. Text people back that care about you.
Don't make it any harder on him. I totally understand. It's one of the hardest.
No, I'm doing it for me. Like, hey, buddy, I've texted you. Come on, text me back too.
He deserves it. None of the rest of us do, but this guy does. The kicker.
Well, I think what's great though is when you look back at those relationships and what he was able to start here and the teammate he's always been to you.
Yeah.
It's just that some of these people with these huge competitive drives also have the biggest hearts.
Yeah.
Sure. And so I like to think I actually met Nolan Ryan's wife at a post office in Georgetown, and we had the same wallet, and we ended up talking, and she introduced herself, and she was.
Did it say "badass mofo" on it?
Yeah,
is it that wallet?
I think that's the one we both have.
Yes. All right, cool.
Sorry, it's a limited club, but I know that they do a lot in your hometown.
They support so many.
And so I'm kind of curious, what is it about how generosity can become part of someone's competitive DNA?
Yeah.
Thinking of some of our teammates who have lost parents to ALS. There's so many people who have just achieved, and then you hit this wall of formidable diagnosis that nobody's beat yet.
Yeah.
And especially once your playing days are over, maybe you have a little bit more bandwidth or margin to be thinking about what comes next and kind of turning that competition, that gene that y'all have that's different.
It never turns off, yeah.
Yeah, it's
different. So now
different.
you just have to direct it somewhere else.
So now how do we turn that into we need to raise $100 million worth of school supplies because, these kids don't have a chance right now because they don't have a pencil and a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Or
you start to reorient your goals and your vision from, sports success or just pure business success to that outcome. And just to give one more quick shout out to our boy Aaron, his commitment to philanthropy, just the last handful of years. It's, he's always been a person who was a deep thinker and a deep feeler and doing amazing things. But lately I've been so proud to see what he's doing. My hometown, I was born in the same hospital as him in Enloe and Chico.
I saw he just gave $3 million, right?
Yeah, I saw that too. And, I'm 6 months older than him. So, I was born in the same hospital while my parents were going to school at Chico State. So there's this kind of connection to our hometowns, And my parents moved out of there after they graduated to the Bay Area, and my mom's an entrepreneur, and I could go on and on about how important my parents were to my life. But just a shout out to all the people, like our community of owners. We have a little over 100 owners, and they range from these people that are some of the greatest athletes and musicians in the world to just some of the greatest visionaries, builders, families, philanthropists.
For sure.
And they all have this common thread of being rooted in purpose. They're eclectic, but they all have that common thread. And I find that the people who build great things, they're committed to building lasting things and not just for the legacy behind them, but for me, it's even more so about the future.
No doubt.
And your time's almost always best spent on the present and on the future.
Yeah.
Right.
And certainly legacy is important to us here, leaving something behind that we're really proud of. But even more so for me, it's leaving something behind for other people that can enable them and empower them. And so when we talk about nourishing the future, this commitment that everything we do as a community, as a business, as a brand is going to connect to long-term goals of serving other people. That's a real differentiator. It's like you start making decisions in a different way when your North Star is to nourish the future. And so when you make it about that, just like when a good team makes it about winning the championship and not about themselves or about some kind of little piece of it, but you all have your eyes on the right North Star.
Exactly.
That's when the championship season comes along, and that's when you leave an indelible mark on the world. And then so that's sports, and sports, by the way, having a huge impact on people's lives beyond the game. It's crazy with World Cup right now.
We're dealing with it right now. Yeah. In the World Cup.
Give people hope, all around the world. And it's that time where they can tune out for whatever's going on. It's brought peace to countries.
Exactly. One of the best things about this podcast is how it connects our love of wine with the people and companies who share that passion.
Like Perlick Refrigeration. We first crossed paths through Mason's work with Sartori Cheese and Make-A-Wish, where Mason met Jeff Schwager, who's now on Perlick's board and an investor in one of our favorite Napa wineries, Ovid.
Perlick has been setting the standard for wine storage for over a century, and their wine refrigeration is second to none because great wine deserves perfect care.
We're proud to have Perlick as part of Crosby's crew, keeping our wine at the perfect temp, from the first pour to the last drop.
So we were watching the USA versus Turkey, I guess is what how we're saying it now. But just even like that Turkey won that game.
Yeah. And
they're like, they didn't advance. They didn't get to that next stage, but like you could feel this like joy out of them and the US. And Pochettino is talking about, he's like, hey, like we weren't playing for anything. We got a lot of guys, but it's like this mindset though. I think even the US now is hanging on this World Cup, and this team because they see something special.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's uniting.
We want to see this go somewhere, really, really special. And like to go on Aaron, like what I love about him too, is he doesn't seek. He's not seeking attention in the ways that he does great things. Yeah. And I think in Green Bay and like certain spaces in his world, like they're just like, does he care? Is he doing things? And he's doing it under the radar. He goes and gives $3 million to his hometown and this thing there. He's
without
doing all these support,
and
he's not making sure cameras on him and following. So I always appreciated him for that, like how he used his platform for good, but he wasn't drawing attention to himself. He wanted it to go out to other people for sure.
Mm-hmm. And that's what this platform is about, is bringing together these very powerful people in their communities and centering them in gratitude and in purpose about where they are and the luxury of being able to give back, right? Like wine and what we do at Estate 8 is it's luxury at its highest level. It's peaceful back there. Yeah. It's peace, and it's these beautiful experiences and core memories that I see people create with their families and for milestones and things like that. That's awesome. And, it's very innovative what we've done. We're the first property here in Napa and in the heart of Napa. We're at the dead center of Napa, by the way, right, the 30-mile corridor. We're at mile 15 and a half of a 31-mile corridor. Okay. It's why I built that rock structure in the front called the heart of Napa. Nice. It's 50,000 stones from the Mayakama mountain range, dry stacked, like balanced together to create a meandering 300-foot wall that spirals up. We'll walk out there after this and we'll go up to the top and you're up above the vines and you can see thousands of acres. And we're putting in a ring that is made of steel hearts welded together. That's what thousands of them. Wow. And the light will shine through and create really cool design, but also it frames up that perfect view of the Mayakama mountain range and Mount St. John right behind us.
So cool. Right, that's the tall one, right?
Yeah, it's been photographed the most out of any mountain in Napa history because it's the backdrop to the Welcome to Napa Valley sign, a mile down. And our view is 10 feet higher and it's just this perfect little shot. So awesome. And it's the postcard from the property. And but I wanted it to be a place where people come back year after year and it's lasting, and that will last for over 1,000 years if it's left. It's just rocks, they're here forever. So cool. So like, while all these structures, this is a steel structure with 7 miles of bald cypress around the outside of it and all these incredible finishes and everything. But this building might last for 100 or 200 years. Yeah. And Estate 8 is all wood. It'll probably last for 100 to 200 years. That one will be here like as long as Stonehenge. And it's actually bigger surface area than Stonehenge, believe it or not.
That's awesome.
It's a really special project, and it's one that I wanted to make available. It's like my love note to Napa Valley and to the people who come here to give everybody the opportunity to experience something here and get a little moment. What we've done with creating a home to the brand with Estate 8. Right. Yeah. The farmhouse We have the Villa in the Vines in the back that's now open since October. And then we have the Garden House by Estate 8, which is a little boutique hotel, the only one in the Oakville AVA. That's right next to Mustard's. That's coming on board. My wife, who's the interior designer and experience designer of all these spaces, she is sinking her teeth into there. So it'll be as special as these places, a little different, but it's going to be amazing. And our goal is to ultimately build about 30 to 40 rooms down here on the Napa Valley floor that are just available to our community of owners and their closest friends and family.
Sure.
And that's basically, what we put our sights on beyond wine, right? Like wine is of course part of it. And so is food and wine, and coming together around the table is the big thing. So while people usually talk about us as a wine brand, in a way, ONEHOPE is more about like the essence of the two words. Like one is bringing people together around food and wine. And then the other is hope. And it's really our product. But our product's hope in the form of a bottle of wine.
That's right.
It's also in the form of people staying with us and connecting with the brand. And ultimately, a lot of our partners have been some of our biggest donors as well, and enabled us to make the impact that we do. So
that's beautiful. I love that.
Well, and that's what's interesting to me is when Mason was playing, I never really felt the unification factor of sports, in the sense of it was our business. It was day in and day out. Going to a game was anything other than like relaxing or, this deep breath. It was a hold on tight, and, you're managing everybody coming in for games and all the things around it. And it wasn't until he retired and we took all of our kids to a CU Buffalo game where we both went to college. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such an amazing experience as a family. Here we are walking down Pearl Street, cheering on the band and, doing all this stuff. And it was the first time that a football game, I could see the unifying effect. I could catch that breath of like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing moment for my family. And it's something that I think we definitely enjoy more now that he's retired as far as the wine's concerned, because it's that same moment of reprieve. It doesn't matter how much money you have, what your job is, the different thing. Everyone has to eat and drink, right? And so few of us take time to pause during those moments. And these games unify us in how we dress, how we act, where like last night watching the World Cup game, no one had to tell us to cheer at the same time. It was very easy to cheer at the same time.
I was worried we were going to get kicked out of the hotel.
He was so vocal.
I was jumping.
It was a fun game to watch, by the way. The way it ended, by the way, what you were noting, I think every American was probably like, hey, well, good for those guys, because they had no goals, they had no wins.
Yeah.
And then like even the idea of that, right, in our minds, that we were happy for the other competitor, which it takes a minute. You're like, dang it. And then you're like, well, we're still in the playoffs. They go home like their best win ever.
Did you see their joy? Like, it's like, they won that game. And like, but you realize how winning a World Cup game is huge.
It's a big
Even
deal.
if you don't advance, it was like they had won the group. That was a big moment.
It's
but
pride.
then I also like it for US because it'll make them hungry.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's
all right.
a good point.
I think it's good.
We didn't play our best, group in there, but we have some good depth.
Yeah.
That like we can fit pieces in, but like, all right, like we need to play lights out and go and chase this thing. And I like that. I kind of like it. I think they're going to be hungry going into the
Now,
knockout.
before we let him go full bore soccer, I do want to just finish this thought of when I had cancer, we were still in the midst of Mason playing, but those simple things like you're talking about, just gratitude and awareness of looking forward.
Yeah.
It was, oh my gosh, we're going to sit and have this meal together. And I had a great prognosis, and it was surgically curative, and that was great, but it was hard.
Yeah.
That time was hard. Mason's little brother lost his wife to cancer during my cancer journey, and my dad was also diagnosed. Yeah. And you see that it's not easy to craft hope. Yeah. It's not easy to find yourself on the same page, or find those moments of time. And I do think that that's something that both sport and wine do for us, often on a daily basis, if not on a week in and week out basis. And I know that you were giving us a few notes on this wine that you just poured and why it's such a winner and why it means so much to you. Yeah. And I'm super excited to try it.
Before we get into the wine, like your guys' story is amazing. Mason, I didn't know that about your little brother's wife.
Yeah,
and
at 30.
I mean, when those are the reminders of how fragile life is this weird paradox, because it's also what makes you so grateful. Yeah. If you actually concentrate on it, there's so much pain and sadness there, but it's also makes you centered in gratitude and present. For sure. And every day I think about how fragile life is, and some people think that's weird. It's not like a fatalist kind of
but you're also dealing with the vines, and you're dealing with like this fragile thing that you don't have control over.
And it's a 1-year cycle every time. And you watch that life go from beginning to end, and it turns out the way it does, and then you start again. But then you also so you're mapping that, and it's every year. And then you watch children grow up, and you have your relationships and everything. And there's so many metaphors to the way that the vines grow and the seasons of the vine and everything. For sure. And they're great reminders. Sports are too. So it's like the two biggest metaphors I have in my life are sports and that, because I don't even know if you know this, but I was a long snapper. So that's
I remember you telling me that's the first time we met. I love it.
Yeah. That's tremendous.
Nolan Ryan, long snapper. That's why we have this common thread.
We are
buddies.
Friends.
That's right.
When I was snapping at Cal, I was supposed to be the starter, and this guy came out of nowhere, LP Ladiseur, who ended up playing for 20 years at Dallas. Exactly. And so I got to see what the best snapper in the NFL looked like in front of me,
and
who
he's
had
a
never snapped
giant
before.
And all, you're like, come on. Why do you got to be like that?
The best thing, and it's just another metaphor for me of life, is it actually drove me to walk out and try rugby for the first time while I was at Cal. Nice. And I got to be a part of winning 2 national championships there. And it was a game changer for me. Sports. I'd never been part of a program that was that just much of a championship program, winners. And winners. And it when you feel that culture. It doesn't mean you're going to win the championship that year, but you're like a championship contender, and you can feel it, And so
I love that. That's so true.
That's my metaphor to the Mount Veeder Cabernet, is like, it's got championship elk. This, when you go up to the property, first of all, you walk it, and the vineyard
smells like championship.
The vineyard's beautiful. It's like 1,500 foot elevations looking down on the valley. It's surrounded by redwood trees. Jeez. You can still see the scars of the fires that made it 50 feet up these redwoods, but they're survived and bright green and amazing, right? And the vineyard's been replanted since then, and it's at its peak right now. And so this is our 21 vintage. Our 22 vintage was the first one we got rated. It got a 97-point rating with Decanter. In 23, this most recent release, it got a 99. And it just means, it tells us that we're like, I don't really believe in perfection anyways. I think it's an ideal. Sure. But when you're near perfection and you're like, okay, there's always room to get better, but you're near perfection in the glass. That's where we are with this Cabernet.
Well, like you said, every season's there's a different challenge. There's a different season. So perfection or like success might look different in every season of life, every wine production, everything, right?
And by the way, the 21 or 22, this is the 21. Yeah. On any given day, if you blind tasted me against our 23, that's supposedly at 99, I go, I like this better. And it's 2 years older, so it's just at a different place. And no single bottle of wine is exactly the same, because it changes in the bottle. And
for sure.
And those vintages, they go through, the 21 vintage could be at its peak right now, where the 23's at its peak in 15 years or something. Right. And so I will tell you this, we're making wines that are unbelievable, and they belong amongst the greats of the Napa Valley now. Yeah. And that was my goal of like setting roots down in the heart of Napa amongst the greatest wine families in the history of America. And the world, really. That was our first step of saying, hey, this is what we aspire to be. We aspire to be amongst these greats and to carry their reputation and what they've done, their legacy forward into the future. Yeah. And so I feel a great sense of duty to the amazing wine families around us to be like that next generation winery that is every bit as special, and where we tell stories a lot about our neighbors. Not because we just want people to say, oh, they must be good because we're next door to them, but more out of admiration and honor for them.
That's how championships are formed. You have to remember what came before you, or you can't ever do it yourself.
Well, that reminds me of two things. Like, we're always telling our kids to be careful of their friends, because who you're around, you're going to be a sum of that. You know, and so I don't see why that's any less true here on this highway. You know, who you're around, the dirt's not that different 4 vines over as it is 4 vines over that way. So it is important to choose your neighbors or your company well. That definitely that's not a stretch at all.
Yeah.
As far as.
Well, and then like to go back on like my brother and his wife and that 2019 season of life, and like it goes right in line with what you're doing here, One Hope, and like your mindset is they started doing just living life on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And that was their whole mantra.
Yeah.
Made shirts, they did all the stuff, and it's like, live life on purpose. And it seems so simple and such a concept we think we all understand, but it's just, you have to choose that, right? And
it's so hard because as humans, we ruminate, you know, and we go backwards and we go forwards. We get anxious and we ruminate on the past. And so it's actually a lot harder than you think to be in the flow and stuff. I'm so in the flow when I'm on this property. It makes me late to things, unfortunately. I actually, as a student athlete for the longest time, I was always on time to practice and all these things. But when I'm here, I go, you know what? I'm just going to be in the flow with people. And sometimes it moves things because
I think Napa does. Yeah, I think this area does that, and I think this space does that. I think when we were staying here, we were a little bit late to most things.
We were flowing.
We're just like,
it's island time.
There.
You know, it's like island time where you're like everybody's in the flow.
I know.
It's okay.
I hate to end it, but
I have a challenge for today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I have a little challenge, and it'll be for the next time we get together.
Yeah.
The next time we get together, I hope that you have a signature One Hope, whether it be toast or however we want to say it, because I think this ritual you have and the intention you've built behind your brand and the experience is really palpable. And it just sounds like it's something that, you know, needs to grace every one of your properties and come before each bottle being opened. And we did have a little something written to close out the episode. And I don't think this is quite it, because I know it's not just athletes, it's entertainers too, but I do think that this could be close. So Mason, would you take us out?
Right. So a little toast to finish off this episode, because we appreciate it so much. So winning isn't just accumulating success, it's multiplying it. The scoreboard eventually goes dark. The impact you leave on other people doesn't. So
cheers to you.
I love that.
Keep crushing it.
You guys, can I follow that first? Let's drink to that. Can I follow that up? Because I like the challenge, and I will, but I've shared something that is a amalgamous of like all these different great things I've heard from some of the people I look up to the most about wine. And I kind of jammed it into my own thing that I share with people. And it goes like this. It's that a good wine will remind you of the wine, but a great wine will remind you of the place and the people you're with. And so when you guys have these amazing wines as you're going around these different things, the best ones bring you back to this sense of place.
That's right.
And even more so, they bring you back to that place with the people you're with. And I think it's so cool what you guys are doing as a couple, because it's going to bring you to these great adventures and these wonderful places. And then you're going to go back to like the 2021 vintage, or you may even go back to a 2019 vintage, which is a very hard year, you know, and it brings you back there, but you find gratitude in that and you find purpose in it, no matter what the year was. The hardest ones are the greatest growth years.
Exactly.
And
I feel that for sure.
The easiest ones, you just got to be realize like it's not always this easy. Just be thankful for it and be in the moment.
Exactly.
But I hope that when you guys have One Hope in the future and our State 8 wines that come from this property, they bring you back to this place and they bring you back to each other and the great people you've met through wine.
Easily.
Well, it does. And that's what we're enjoying so much, I think, about this journey, and like being able to connect with people like you and just our connection. I mean, it's like, in this journey, we get to connect in so many ways. And that's, I think it's been special, especially with having 5 kids.
Yeah.
It's and we're trying to encourage parent and people. It's just like, find that thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you sit down, you have a glass of wine together, or just share in these moments. So.
It's always a glass of wine and dinner for us.
Wine has
Celebrate
brought my
celebrate
wife and I
another day.
together too, around this property and
That's
the
right.
things we built together. And we only have 2. I'm really impressed by you guys with 5.
Here you
Okay.
go. Manageable number of children is 1 less than you currently have.
That's always the
Sweet.
equation, right? X minus 1.
Yeah.
We have,
We thought
we have
2
great
was really
parents
hard
that help
when
with
we
the
had
kids.
2.
Yeah. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
It's been
Congratulations.
wonderful hanging out with you guys. Thank
This
you.
is killer.
Who you share it with.
Well, that's it for this pour. Thanks for spending time with Crosby's crew. If you tried one or all of the wines from today's episode, we want to hear about it. Head to our socials and let us know which one was your favorite and why.
Curious about what we're tasting next? Check the lineup and send us your questions. We'll be answering them in the upcoming episodes. Nothing's too nerdy or too simple. If you're wondering, someone else is probably wondering too.
And hey, before you go, just a reminder that drinking and driving is never okay. Please enjoy wine responsibly. Always have a designated driver lined up before the bottles open and consume in moderation.
Until next time, cheers from the crew.